Hi, it's Sue Greenwald with Awakened Stories here today with Deanna Carr with the Mystical Moonlight. Hey, Deanna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Today's surprise topic is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, who was a prolific composer, okay? And his music is considered to be structurally perfect. The frequencies helped with brain development, and one of his legacies is that he changed operas to be less formal at the time that they were. So he made them more uplifting, fun, and more for the common person, if you will.
hmm
Okay. He wrote a prolific number of symphonies and orchestras, and, like he's very well known even today. All right. So
Yes.
jump
Yep.
in there with anything I might not have said correctly or that the facts are wrong. He was born in 1756 in Austria, and at age 5, he composed his first piece. His father, Leopold, noticed his genius with music and basically had Mozart and his sister tour Europe and play for
Mhm.
various kings. So he was a child prodigy. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, he did have the gifts at an early age, and it was above average that they did start touring.
Yeah.
Um, Now the dad was seeing it more as a claim to fame, whereas he really did just have music come naturally to him. Um, there isn't really anything crazy about it. He just has the mindset for music. And his music does, like you said before, it does have that power to heal and re-energize and to bring the consciousness up. Um, and that is part of his past life. So for that lifetime, he was supposed to bring in this higher vibrational pattern through music. And we've talked about this before, where people do have this natural gift of healing through sound, through music. Um, Music is not always just, the crystal bowls, which most of us think of when we hear of sound healing. It does come through vocals, it does come through instrumentals also.
Right. All right. So basically, his music was very uplifting. And if you, read the books or you know anything about the works with Masaru Emoto, he basically froze drops of water. And what his research found is, positive and uplifting drops of water, if you said positive and uplifting things to them, they would freeze in a beautiful symmetrical pattern where ugly, hateful words would be a blob. Okay. And
Yes.
then he went on to test music, and classical music was one of the highest vibratory sounds. And again, the crystal would be extremely complex and a beautiful pattern. And as a matter
Mhm.
of fact, I believe he put out a CD of music to, meditate to or healing music that you could play in your house and also play to your water because we know that water absorbs those frequencies, right?
hmm Yep.
So you're confirming that. So Mozart
Yeah.
did have that ability. Okay. So again, child prodigy with music, really talented. I do think the father capitalized on that and that was his goal. And so he takes the kids around Europe playing for kings and other, we'll say, wealthy and influential people. Okay, so then Mozart moves to Vienna, which is the capital of Austria, right? And it's supposedly against his father's wishes. And it's considered a bold move. So basically, he doesn't have a job. He has a job, but it's not the status that his father wants. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a bold move because I don't know if there was ambition on Mozart's part or if he just wanted to be free, but he moves to Vienna and then he marries maybe about a year later, again against his father's wishes. Does that sound right?
Yeah, so pretty much the father was very structural. He saw his son as a money maker and wanted to utilize it as much as possible. But the problem with that is when you put pressure on somebody to do something that they don't really want to do, you kind of push them in the wrong direction. And the father was very overbearing. So it did push him to leave. So he did leave, one, to get away from his father, and two, um, he was actually lost. He had all these skills, he had all this knowledge, um he made beautiful music, but what was he supposed to do with it? His dad saying, "Go make money and just play for the Kings," but deep down he knew he could do something more with it. So even though he was a prodigy in the music aspect, life still took a hold of him and made him second guess what his life was supposed to look like. So he kind of took that time frame to just kind of explore. Um, and that led him down this new path because he had to come up with different ways to create money, but he always knew he had this gift. And I'm sure everybody can relate to that in some way. Like, we know we have these gifts, but how are we supposed to utilize it so we help everyday people, but also can live?
Right.
And that's always the ongoing question of how do you balance it? So he
Yeah.
was in this time frame of how do I balance it? And then also finding that he's free at the same time. Now, now what do I do? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. So the story is accurate up to that point, and in the movie, that's how they do portray him. He's, really creative with the music, the composition, and carrying out the operas and things. But I think he didn't have a lot of common sense, is the way they portrayed him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So he
And
gets.
honestly, I will say this too. Most geniuses don't have common sense. They don't.
Yeah.
They do not have common sense. Their IQ is really high, but that is pretty much all they can think about.
Yeah.
So no matter what genius we talk about, their their common instincts are pretty much stupefied. So, and I'm not making that part up. I mean, you guys can do your research, but it's very true.
Yeah.
They are very smart and intellectual in most things.
Right. But they don't have a lot of common sense for some reason, or street smarts, we'd say nowadays, right?
Yes, yes. It's like that does not exist to them. They don't understand even social cues, they just don't comprehend. And it's not always like they don't always have like autism or anything like that. There is just their brain is so, what is it, like left-sided versus right-sided? It's just how they are. And it's common within these genius-like structures and prodigies.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now here's where it might take a twist. Just putting that out there. He joins the Freemasons. Okay. So this is in the 1780s. And that heavily influences philosophy and music. Is there any concerns there at that point?
Of course. You
Okay.
just
This,
said Freemasons, and it heavily changed his music.
yeah.
And we already know that they understand that frequency and sound can alter the human's brain. They already know this.
Okay.
They just didn't have somebody to
Yeah.
change it.
They didn't have us doing videos back then. That is the whole problem.
I know. We're a century or two.
Okay, so he joins the Freemasons. What happens to him then? So his music is influenced in a negative way. The vibration of the music is lower, and probably
Yeah,
the operas are darker, is my guess.
they're not necessarily darker. They just have a twist to them in the beginning. So you got to think, you got to do it subtly. Okay? If you do this stuff too fast, it's going to bring out too much darkness. And because the body's not used to it, the energies aren't used to it, you can see a shift. And if you have mass people coming out of an opera completely changed, there's a problem. Right. And then that's when you bring in people and you're like, what's going on? Why are they coming in happy, leaving mad? Like something's happening. He wanted it so they got hooked. He wanted it so that they loved the music. They needed the music. He created that desperation. Even now, they're like, okay, play this for your babies, right? He created this desperate need to listen to the music, not only so you could become smarter, but it's going to help you in all these different ways, right? It's going to increase your brain flow. It's going to make you smarter. So it will make everything flow naturally. But by adding in this little bit of dark, it makes you start to crave it. It makes you feel like you need to listen to it. And the reason he wanted it for everybody to listen to it, you are going to hit more people if you can reach more people. So the operas used to be for the rich and the wealthy. That's really a low percent. Even now, that's only 1%, right? But if you want more people, open it up to everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Now you're going to have at least 50%.
Yep.
So that also helped get his name out more because more people were listening to it. They were excited. They could do like the referrals, like, hey, have you listened to his music? It's really helped me do this. They didn't just start off with, I'm going to alter you. You're going to love to listen to this because it's going to help to motivate you. It's going to help bring in that energy flow. Like I said, however he positioned it at that time. But by adding in that aspect, it was also brainwashing them. They needed it. If they
Wow.
had a bad day, they need to go listen to that because something's wrong.
Right.
And that did create that kind of psychological warfare because now you have this big industry that we already know is very bad, um, being able to kind of have control over this large population that they didn't have before.
Yeah. Genius, right? In
Hmm.
a negative
It
way.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
smart.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just fast forward and go through the story. And I've got a whole bunch of questions, and I'm sure there's even more than we've talked about. So he then starts to produce his greatest operas and symphonies. Okay. So he's
Hmm.
getting very prolific. He's working a lot. And like I said, the operas are kind of they're not just for royalty, they're for we'll call them the regular people. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's what he's doing. He's getting them, well, addicted to his music, if you will.
Yeah.
But yet he struggles with debt. Okay. He is in poor health. He struggles with debt. And yet he's working for all of these wealthy people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because it's not that he really had a choice to. Okay. Um, he might be doing all these operas, but he wasn't getting paid like it.
Oh,
He like their contract was pretty much the wealthier get wealthier and the poor stay poor. So he really was thinking this was going to be his way to bring in money, but realistically, that's not how that time, I mean, even now, that time frame doesn't work the same
yeah.
way. I
Yeah.
mean, the rich want to stay rich. They're not going to pay people, even though he's bringing in all these people. And he was at that point where it was like he didn't really have a choice. So once you get in with the bad crowd, you stay with the bad crowd.
Okay. So he works like a bugger for several years. Okay. And then he starts to, his health declines. He dies at age 35.
Hmm.
And his assistant helps him finish his last piece. So is that accurate?
Hmm.
Okay. I'm going to fire off some questions, and I think they're
Okay.
going to be pretty interesting. Was Mozart white?
No.
There you go. Okay. So one of the pieces we've missed in all of these little pieces of history videos that we're doing is often the famous person is not Caucasian, like we've been taught. We're shown
Hmm.
line drawings of some guy and his wife with all the wigs and the hair, but they were actually black. Is that correct?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay. Was he human?
His body was, his brain wasn't.
Ooh, what was his brain? All
His brain was alien.
right. In a good way.
So he was, yeah, so I guess I mean you can call it kind of like hybrid, but like his spirit, his mentality was not on the human form. That's why he was able to get above. Now, a lot of people think when you have like a prodigy, it's just their intellectual structure is different. They're able to recall information differently. Usually, there is a brain process or there is something internally that is not human. Most humans, we have been um let's say debrained. Um, they've taken our smarts. They've taken a lot from us physically so that we stay stupid, we stay in lack of, and we are physically incapable. That's why we are considered the bottom of the food chain pretty much, even though we consider ourselves the top. Um, so for him, his body was human, but his brain, his spirit was not human. Um, and that is also where we see the difference in that psychological, like he's very intellectual, but he doesn't get the common sense stuff.
Yeah.
That is also why his body failed. Usually when you have a weak body and um a smarter brain, I don't know how
A stronger mind.
more intellectual, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Your body's not actually working together. And usually they lack the common sense to take care of the physical body because they have understanding that when they leave this body, there is the next step. So a lot of smart people don't tend to take care of themselves because they have this higher understanding of this is not it.
Yeah.
So they it's more of that complex thing of like, do they really care if their body kind of dies? Yes, but no, because they're understanding that next step. So he was dying, he understood that, but he was okay with it.
Okay. Okay. So, wow. Didn't expect that specific answer. All right. So he was a musical child prodigy. Prodigy. Correct.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Question. I'm just asking these questions. Did he write his own music?
Yes.
Okay. He did.
Now, he did towards the time frame when he had the influence, they were saying you need to change these specific things. So it altered the sound waves.
Okay. All right. So they influenced him to make it, we'll say, lower vibration.
Yes.
Okay. So they were watching what he was doing. They knew who he was in some fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, his dad just took him around to castles to play for kings.
Yeah. Okay. Well, plus, the reptilians have had technology for billions of years that we didn't
Yeah.
know about. So they could read an energy signature and say that one is, there's something different about that one,
Yep.
in a more technical way. Okay. Was he a spy?
No,
Okay. Was he murdered when he died?
I'm getting no.
Not poisoned, because that's the common misconception is that he was poisoned out of jealousy.
No.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
there
I'm
any?
not getting poisons.
All right, so we kind of got the answer to this one. The next question is there coding in his music? So it was, coded, but it was coded to be vibrationally lower than it could have been.
Are you meaning coded as in like giving spies information?
Yes.
I'm getting no.
Okay. Okay,
I'm not
interesting.
saying I'm not. Well, hold on. Okay, so we have to reword this. Okay. Okay, were the Masons coding his music? Okay, were the Masons coding his music? Yes. Did he know they were coding his music? No. How are they coding his music? Altering a few strings. Okay. So did he understand why they were altering the strings? No. Okay. So there was coding in the music. What they told him to do was to alter. So I told you like he was trying to do the vibrational shift. Like that's what they told him to do. But he didn't understand that they were trained certain aspects was actually coding. So yes, they were coding. Did he have knowledge? No. It was the Masons.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, in the movie Amadeus, which was actually a really good movie, probably late 80s, I think it won a bunch of awards. They had there was a court musician, okay? And he
Hmm.
was in the movie, he was jealous, and so he was the one supposedly that poisoned him at the end. But throughout the movie, Amadeus, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart would receive a visitor that was super creepy in the movie. He'd be dressed and would have a mask on, and he would show up at the door with mysterious messages, or he just was like kind of psyching him out, really. Did
Hmm.
that happen in any fashion?
Yeah, he did have visitors,
Yeah.
and there was a point where he was nervous, and I think it was, I don't know if it was part of the Masons, but what I'm getting is that he did have visitors kind of putting the fear aspect into
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I said, he doesn't really pick up on those context clues, but for that, he did feel the low energy kind of radiating off the person. And
Okay.
it was multiple different people that came to visit.
Okay. So they did that to like kind of let him know that they were watching him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Low
to put the
vibe.
fear in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it wasn't really the the his rival, if you will, or the one who like the movie made it seem like the court musician like orchestrated all the negative things that happened.
No, what I'm actually getting for it is that it was actually the Masons that were doing this.
Yeah.
It looks like there was a point, like you said, he wasn't really making a lot doing this.
Yeah.
So there was an aspect in time he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. There's really no point. Like we're not making it by. It's really not benefiting my family. And it looked like he was actually thinking about leaving. And that's when they started to send these people basically as a scare tactic, like you can't leave.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm. Like I said before, like once you're with the bad guys, you're with bad guys.
Yeah. Never join the bad guys, everybody. All right,
No.
question. So he did he know he was going to die then? He kind of felt it and he I won't say was okay with it, but he died of,
Yeah.
we'll say air quote, natural causes.
Yeah. I don't see poisoning. I do see because I mean you have to think about the time frame too. They did not live physically as long as we did.
Yep.
So it's not abnormal for them to die at a younger age. Um, I don't see poisoning happening. But that's also lack of care of self. And that could have also been, caused by them because they weren't actually giving them enough to survive.
Okay. Okay. So he was overworked, underpaid, didn't really have, you know, food and heat and all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we should know about Mozart?
I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
information. I guess if you guys have more questions,
Yeah.
just put them in some comments.
In my mind, the big red flag is that he was not white, okay? And if we were to go back and redo every one of the videos that we've done, I think we're going to find that a lot of the people in history have not been what we've been taught, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, because it's part of the narrative.
Yeah, they want to change our history, and that's why we're doing these to reveal what the true history is, or at least to
Yeah.
get you thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for
Yeah, you
those,
can always do your own research.
yeah, if you're watching this and you have more questions, please let us know. We'll do a Q&A video follow up next time.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Deanne. I appreciate your help.
Of
All
course.
right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.